Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Cedric Marin. I'm an immigration lawyer at Holt Immigration Law, and today we're going to be doing a short live Q&A of 30 minutes to answer all your pressing questions about immigrating to Canada. For those of you just joining me, I usually do a podcast, a live Q&A that takes place early in the morning. I'm a lawyer who's currently teleworking abroad on the Eastern European Summer Time Zone, which means that I'm available to meet with you early in the morning if you're inside Canada or during the day if you're outside Canada. In today's live Q&A, usually we have like a featured question. We changed our approach and we feature a question. But today we're actually going to be doing an old-fashioned live Q&A where we're going to be taking all your questions on immigrating to Canada. Going forward, I plan to do a live Q&A every Tuesday from 6:30 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. Toronto time on Tuesdays and Thursdays to answer all your questions. So right now, just give me a moment. We'll get our live stream set up. We're going to get it linked. And then if you could tell me where you're joining me from today, I'd love to know where you're joining me from today. And we'll go ahead and feature your question. So there we go. Let's take a look here of who's joining us. A little bit impromptu. It wasn't scheduled, but let's get the ball rolling. I took some time off in September to visit some family that I hadn't seen since COVID. I also did a little bit of traveling to do that. So here we have Nora joining us. Nora says, hello, Cedric. Well, hello, Nora. Nice to see you again and welcome. We have Leila Bano who says, hi to you, Leila. Welcome to our channel. We have Grizel Rose Nator who says, hello. Hi to you too as well. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. We have Swag Atom joining from Bhubaneswar, India. Hi. And then we also have Ratim who says, hello and smiley face. Hello to you too, guys. All right, so if you have questions, please feel free to post them. We're going to jump straight to the questions. Again, I don't necessarily take them in order. I try to take questions that everyone's going to benefit from and try to avoid repetition. So let's get right to it. So Trevor says, hi, Cedric. Applied for an LMIA work permit. How much proof of funds do I need to show? So let's go take a look at that. So work permit, LMIA, proof of funds. So for a work permit, talk about proof of funds. We're talking usually about when you're coming to Canada as a permanent residence. And so for express entry in different programs, there is a proof of funds. However, when we're dealing with a work permit, they're going to be mostly concerned as to whether or not you can actually meet the job duties. So if you're applying for an engineer, you have to obviously show that you have the qualifications of an engineer, do that through education, through work experience. They might also ask for language tests in some cases as to whether or not you speak English or whatnot. But as I said, the proof of funds is usually a requirement for the PR, and there is requirements for the proof of funds that are going to depend on your family size. So I'm just trying to pull it up here. Sorry, just give me a moment. So I'm just trying to prove it. So if you're just for an LMI work permit, sorry, I try to make this interactive. And Trevor, are you outside Canada or are you inside Canada? I think that's going to be a determinant factor as well. Trevor, if you're still with us. You're outside Canada. All right, so you're applying from outside Canada and you're looking for an LMIA. Again, the most important part is going to be to meet the working requirements. And there's most likely not going to be a proof of funds requirement. You need to show they have enough funds to support yourself generally speaking. So we're probably talking at least $3,000, $4,000, or $5,000 as an initial settlement inside Canada. But for express entry, as I mentioned, you're most likely going to have to do the proof of funds. So have enough money to show to immigration officers you can come to Canada, find a place to live, and then start earning income, right, to be able to support yourself inside Canada. Noor says, bonjour de l'Algérie, bonjour Noor. Donc, en effet, je vais commencer à faire certains vidéos en français. Donc, je pense que les jeudis, ça va être bilingue en français et en anglais. Donc, je vous invite à m'écouter aussi les jeudis pour des séances de YouTube en français aussi. Grezel says, can I apply for PR on maintained status? Right, so it really, so on maintained, so for PR for express entry, so if we take a look at the eligibility requirements, we'll head over, we'll flip screens here at the eligibility requirements. And so if you're on maintained status, you're inside Canada, and you're going to see here that for the minimum requirements, there is no requirement for you to have a status inside Canada or to actually be inside Canada to qualify for the Canadian Experience class, right? However, when you're currently working, you need to obtain your work experience when you had a valid work authorization. So if you're working without authorization, you're not going to qualify for the Canadian Experience class, but since you're on maintained status, which probably means you applied for a work permit before your current work permit expired, this experience is going to count for your work experience, but there's no requirement to be to have a status in terms of the minimum eligibility requirements. You can apply inside or outside Canada for the Canadian Experience class. And yes, you can apply for PR on maintained status. Again, there's various programs. I just picked the Canadian Experience class since it's probably the most likely one. All right, let's go back to the questions here. All right, Beniam Kengu says, hi Cedric, my question is I refused. So you got it. Okay, I refused a visa for a study permit in USA a month ago. Does it affect my Canadian visa application? So you're going to have to declare it. There's going to be most likely a question asking you about previous refusals. Canada and the United States does have information sharing agreements, meaning that they're able to essentially see what's going on for the immigration in both sides for Canada and the United States. So definitely recommend to disclose it. You also have an obligation of candor and to be honest, right? It could be a misrepresentation if you don't declare it. So what you're going to want to focus on is the reasons for the refusal in the United States and how you can overcome that for your Canadian visa application. And it really depends on the reasons for the study permit refusal in the United States, right? If it was for criminality, right? You've committed a big crime and they refuse on criminality, the chances they're going to come to Canada are going to be quite slim. However, if you failed to provide a specific document, or it was, for example, lack of proof of funds, but now you've addressed that in your Canadian study permit application, it could not have an impact. So it really depends for the reasons for the refusal. But what I would do is try to overcome whatever reason the United States told you for the refusal. So if it's proof of funds, if it was, the university and whatnot, take a closer look at that and try to overcome it for your study permit application. And I'm really cognizant that I'm speaking quickly here. I'm really trying to just push through as many questions as we can get done within 30 minutes. And again, we're gonna have more consistent content Tuesdays at 6:30 a.m. Toronto time, and then Thursdays 6:30 a.m. Thursdays in French and in English. All right, Cartier Gumber says, I'm from IT field. I usually get rejected from different companies because they need a candidate present inside Canada. Right, so it is difficult for a lot of individuals to get a labor market impact assessment to come inside Canada to start working. And in India in particular, you're also a visa required country, right? So you're gonna have to get a visa if you were from India or from other countries that require requires a visa. So a lot of countries, for example, if you're a Mexican national, you can get an LMIA and come to Canada without having to get a visa. But for visa required countries, you need to get your LMIA and then make an application for a work permit and then make an application for a visa. So it is lengthy, and the processing times, again, just picking India as an example, can be quite lengthy, right? So it's definitely a challenge if you're a visa required country with long processing times to come inside Canada with an LMIA work permit. It's definitely it can get quite difficult. You should also be looking at whether or not you can benefit for permanent residence through the foreign skilled workers. Again, long process, but might have a higher chance of success to immigrate to Canada. Yes, follow-up question, how to convert a tourist visa to work permit. You can't do that inside Canada. There is some temporary public policies that do allow it, but generally speaking, these are temporary COVID policies for individuals that were already inside Canada during COVID. But the principle of immigration law in Canada is that you cannot change from a tourist visa to a work permit from inside Canada. So I definitely do not recommend you come to Canada with a visitor visa. If you're just with the intention of switching to a work permit, I definitely do not recommend it. All right. Chloe says, for CEC, 1 year work experience is divided into 4 months times 3. Is that okay? I think Mark actually did a whole series on Canadian work experience, specifically with whether or not it has to be continuous, right? So one of the main differences between the federal skilled workers program is that it does, for the federal skilled workers, it has to be 1 year continuous. So in this case, no, it doesn't work. And that's the big difference with the Canadian experience class. And this is to answer your question, it does not need to be continuous for the Canadian experience class, right? As we mentioned, you need to have a temporary resident status to be able to do the work, right? A valid status inside Canada when you are working, but it does not have to be continuous. You can actually have equal parts of part-time that make up the work, or you could also have different periods of time that you work to make up the skilled work experience. So if you have, so my work is divided into 4 months times 3, is that okay? Is maybe 3 different jobs? Maybe 3, I don't know what you mean times 3, but generally speaking, it does not have to be continuous for the Canadian experience class, and nor does it have to be in the same NOC the whole way. So there we have it. All right, let's go through all these questions. So many people joining us for a live Q&A that wasn't even scheduled. Again, it's gonna be our usual time. It's gonna be 6:30 a.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays for the live Q&As. All right. Gazelle says, hopefully TR to PR will open soon, but I am on maintained status. Can I apply for PR pathways? Is it possible? You know, as we talked about, right, the Canadian experience class, you're able to apply from inside or outside Canada, right? There's no requirement to have a valid status. This being said, if you're inside Canada, you definitely need to have a status, right? If you're on maintained status, that's fine. You can apply. And again, the work experience, you need to have a, work authorization, right? Work permit, work authorization to be able to work inside Canada. The TR to PR, it was announced last week. Mark did a lot of videos. Mark and Alicia did a lot of videos. Essentially, it's not a new pathway. It's just a lot of small changes to existing programs that are going to be taking place, but it's not going to be like what we saw during COVID, where people inside Canada had to rush to submit an application to a new program. That was really a one-off program, and I really don't think we're going to see anything like that in the near future. All right, a famous question that comes up almost every time is, what is my score and is it okay for express entry? So I already had this open since I knew what was going to happen, and I think nothing really has changed. Right, we continue to see draws happening around every 2 weeks here. So we have draws happening every 2 weeks. This means that we're expecting a draw to happen tomorrow. And we're also seeing increases of about 500 applicants, around 500, 250, 500 every 2 weeks. So we're expecting a draw for 3,750 that's going to take place tomorrow. And if we take a look here, there's a lot of candidates with provincial nominees with PNPs, right? We also have other individuals with scores over the 500. So we're still expecting to be in the low 500s for the draw tomorrow, and we're still expecting actually to be probably in the 500s until November or December, right? There's a lot of candidates also in the 490 and the 480, and as things are opening up more, as people know that it's restarting, you're seeing more and more applicants every week making applications, right? So this is the current pool distribution, and this means that other people are currently making applications right now and submitting their profiles. Obviously, we are with a lot of our clients to get ready for this, but we're still expecting this to be over around 500 until the end of the year. So 467, I mean, you have what, 20, 30, 35,000, 43,000 individuals ahead of you. So if they're taking about 4,000 every 2 weeks, taking 8,000 a month, right? Let's do a little bit of math here. 8,000 a month, 45,000 people in front of you, we're still talking about 6 months, right? And this is assuming that nobody else creates profiles. But a lot of people are creating profiles. A lot of people are contacting us to help them review documents, talk about eligibility, to calculate work experience. And so I really think at 467, again, this is just a guess, right? On the math that we did, I would think that 467 is probably looking at about a year and a half, right? But, can you improve your language score? Can you get a labor market impact assessment? Did you properly create your profile and claim all the additional points, right? Are you able to get the transferability points, right? So if you get a certain language level and certain work experience or education, you can get bonus points, right? Are you getting those bonus points? These are all questions you should be asking yourself as to how you can improve your CRS score. Because I think, 467, at least a year and a half, looking to PNPs, looking to work permits, you can go from there. So, all right, Vivek says, hi, joining from Melbourne. Question, is this necessary that all work experience for express entry has to be for the last 10 years, cannot include work experience from, say, 12 years ago, right? So for express entry and you're outside Canada, you're joining us from Melbourne, let's take a look here. Take a look here, but it does have to be for the work experience. It does have to be in the last 10 years. Where can we find it here? So we have federal skilled workers is 10 years. CEC is 3 years. Where does it mention? Yeah, so within the last 10 years. So keep in mind within the last 10 years, this date changes, right? It's 10 years at the time that you apply for permanent residence. So if you create your profile now and, 6 months go by, the 10-year mark continues to move, right? So no, you cannot claim experience for, let's say, 12 years ago. Only the last 10 years. Should I move outside of Ontario for PR or stay here? I came after grade 12. Please help. Harveen, listen, I don't know more about your situation. Happy to book a consult and talk more about PNPs and different options. Did you study inside Ontario, right? Can you qualify for a PNP inside Ontario? What's your status inside Canada? These are all questions I'd love to speak with you. You can go onto our website, Whole Earth Immigration Law. We're currently working on updating it. We have new stuff coming out all the time. Go here, speak with a lawyer, and at the bottom of our website, you can go and speak with me. And here we have all the different blogs and blogs and areas of focus that I work on. You can go ahead and book a 25-minute or 50-minute consult. We're also having a September-only discount. So for the last week of September, something that we're testing out is giving a discount to new clients and whatnot. So I'd love to learn more about your situation. My call, obviously, we have Mark here at the bottom, and we have Chanel and Alicia as well, who have a lot of experience in immigration law. And as I mentioned, if you're watching me right now live, it's because I'm available. I'm available to speak with you in the morning if you're inside Canada. Again, I'm teleworking abroad, so I have more availability than lawyers who typically work the 9 to 5. I can meet with you, starting at 3 or 4 a.m. In your time. And again, I use a VPN, secure VPN, and so we take care to make sure that everything is secure when we're working together. All right, Ghislaine Hydro says, is it worth applying through Express Entry PNP due to long processing times? You know what? That's a good question. Yes, it's worth it. Absolutely. It is a viable pathway. The processing times that we see right now are very exceptional. Prior to COVID, Express Entry was being processed in about 6 months. Right now, the processing time is 15 months. The minister has mentioned that they were hiring a lot of people, and they really hope to get this down to 6 months. But definitely for a lot of people, PNPs might be the only option for Express Entry to get those 600 additional points. And for other individuals, it just provides them with their permanent residence sooner. Instead of getting another year of Canadian work experience, improving their English and whatnot, they're able to apply to a PNP and apply to this earlier. So yes, Express Entry is still a very valid way, an encouraged way to get your permanent residence, even if there are long processing times. Keep in mind, if you're inside Canada, you're going to get an extended work permit, most likely a T13 LMIA work permit through the PNP. Or if you already have a work permit, you can also get a bridging open work permit under some circumstances. So even those long processing times for PNPs, if you're already inside Canada with a work permit, you can most likely get an extension of a work permit through one of these programs. All right, well, we have so many questions, guys. I'm going to do my best. Again, just a short 30-minute live Q&A, but now we're going to go back to my regular scheduling, 1 hour, 6:30 a.m. Toronto time, Tuesdays and Thursdays. All right. Tim says, I am an express entry under federal skilled worker program. Should I start looking for recruiting agencies from now outside Canada? If so, can you give me some tips about it? Tim, a lot of them, so you can if you'd like. If you get a labor market impact assessment, you're going to get those 50 additional points, right? And so it's definitely a valid option. You could also look into getting a PNP. So some provinces, if you already have links inside the province, family members, or some education experience, or a job offer, you could definitely look into working and getting a job with one of them. Recruiting agencies, again, it's illegal to pay for an LMIA. It's illegal to make false promises for an LMIA. For example, we'll give you LMIA if you stay with our company for the next 10 years and you owe us X amount, name your child after us and whatnot. This is all illegal. So it's going to be on merit. You're going to contact companies on merit, apply online, and do your best to show that you are the best candidate. And again, an LMIA is only if employers cannot find Canadians or PR to do the work. There's other options as well that we should talk about. We have the Atlantic Immigration Program, which is definitely a very valid option for a lot of individuals if you want to immigrate to the Atlantic provinces. And we also have the Rural and Northern Immigration Pilot. So pilot, yeah. It's still under pilot. I think it was recently extended. But listen, let's talk about these. These are non-express entry, but they might give you a work permit or a PR quicker than express entry. So let's go to have a look. The Atlantic Immigration Program, it works with finding employers in Atlantic Canada. So here we're dealing with designated employers who have been designated by the government are allowed to give job offers to foreign nationals. The processing time for this to get designated through the province and then submitting the designation for a work permit to come to Canada to start working and then getting your PR. Is shorter than express entry, and it allows actually NOC C positions as well. So if you're in NOC C, or if you can't find employers for an LMIA, you should definitely consider the Atlantic and Atlantic Immigration. We need individuals to do jobs in the Atlantic Canada. All right. If we continue, if we scroll down here, we have the requirements of who can apply and getting a job offer and whatnot. And generally speaking, you have to get at least 1 year experience inside the NOC that you're applying for. And they have allowed different work experience requirements. So take a look at this, the Atlantic Immigration Program. It's a good program for those who are interested in immigrating to the Atlantic provinces, working there, and might offer your work permit and PR sooner. And you must have an intention to reside in the Atlantic Canada. So you can't just get this program and then move to Toronto. It's not going to work. All right, rural and northern immigration. So again, this is to encourage immigration in rural and northern communities. Take a look here at the community website. Each website has their own requirements to apply. They're looking for specific individuals that have work experience. It's a community-driven program, which means that employers in the community are able to essentially sponsor you, to endorse you. Again, this is an alternative to the LMIA process. If you are LMIA, and then we don't talk about it often, but there's also LMIA exemptions. So in some cases, for example, you're able to be LMIA exempt depending on the country you're applying from. So for example, you might qualify under the CUSMA, which is the new Canadian-US-Mexico agreement on free trade, be able to get work permits. For example, if you're a Mexican national or a national of the United States, you might be LMIA exempt, meaning you don't have to go through the LMIA process. There's also other LMIA exemptions like significant benefit, intra-company transfers. If you were already working in a large company, they can transfer you to Canada and vice versa. But again, generally speaking, it's very specific cases. But if you're an individual that's looking to come to Canada, definitely consider express entry, and if not, the Atlantic Immigration Program or the Rural and Northern Immigration Program might be another option. All right. Kartik says, how to convert tourist visa to work permit. I talked about this already. It's again, a principle of immigration law is that you cannot do so from inside Canada. There are some very limited COVID policies right now, but it really deals if you're already inside Canada during COVID, if you already had a work permit. Again, you can't just come to Canada tourist visa and start looking for a job. It's not allowed. They're not going to allow you to apply for a work permit from inside Canada. Again, this is generally speaking, there's some exceptions to it, but if you're abroad and you think you're going to get a tourist visa and then interview and then get a work permit and stay inside Canada, it's not going to work. Would co-op help in express entry? It depends. Co-op inside Canada, outside Canada. Work experience gain as when you're a full-time student does not count for the Canadian experience class. If you're outside Canada, it does count, but you should probably explain how you're able to for example, work full-time and study full-time, probably provide more of an explanation. All right, final last minutes here. I do have to go. I do have a meeting in 5 minutes. Shintan says CRS points are 500. When should I expect an ITA in your opinion? Which draw? I think in the next 6 months, we're going to get around to the 500s. Again, a lot of people are applying, and so I really think that I think it's going to be in the low 500s for maybe the next 3 months. Again, this is a guess. Tomorrow they could take 10,000 applicants and drop it down to 490. We never know. They can go. It can pause. They can skip a draw. We never know. But I think a good guess would be in the next 3 to 6 months. It's going to stay around the 500. So 500 range, yeah, 3 to 6 months. All right, another question, 503. Hi, Leah. Very similar answer to it. All right, so there we go. So listen, last few questions. Let's find a question here that can apply to a lot of people. There we go. This is a common question, Chloe. So do we need proof of funds of applying for Express Entry under CNC inside Canada? So when you create your profile, it's going to ask you, you're going to have the proof of funds there when you receive your invitation to apply, when you get your ITA, and you do not need to provide proof of funds for CEC. So what the current instructions, I could probably find them, is to actually provide a letter of explanation. So IRCC is telling individuals, temporary workaround is to create a temporary workaround right now is to upload a letter saying, listen, I received my ITA under Canadian Experience class, or I receive a PNP under, I receive my nomination under, I received my ITA under the PNP, but I meet the eligibility requirements for CEC, and as such, I am not providing proof of funds. Now, keep in mind that the way they're going to assess your profile is they're going to start by the Canadian Experience class. And if you meet these requirements, then they're going to accept your application. However, for whatever reason, if you don't meet the requirements of the Canadian Experience class, so for example, your experience in Canada was 50 weeks instead of a full year, right? They then would be able to reject your application under the Canadian Experience class because you don't have your 1 year of Canadian work experience, right? So then they're going to start assessing the federal skilled workers, and they're going to look at the federal skilled workers, and they're going to pretty much reject you automatically since you did not provide proof of funds, right? So in this case, it could be a strategy, could be to actually provide proof of funds even if you're applying for the Canadian Experience class, because if there's any issue with the Canadian Experience class, and in essence your Canadian work experience, then they're going to assess your profile under the federal skilled workers, and if you don't provide proof of funds, it's going to be essentially rejected, right? So short answer is no, you don't have to provide proof of funds. Upload a letter saying you're exempt. However, if you do meet the requirements for the federal skilled workers as well as the CEC, you may consider providing proof of funds to continue to meet the eligibility of the federal skilled workers. So if your application fails under CEC, they're going to assess it under FSW. Shatan says, following up, says, how can it take 3 to 6 months to reach 500? Strange. Last draw was 510. It will take six draws to get to 500. I don't understand. All right, well, listen, this is going to be the last question, and I'm just going to go back here and talk about this. Shintan, just trying to load the page here. Yeah, there we go. All right, so let's take another look at this, right? So right now, right, there are 6,000 individuals, right, and we add this 400, so there's about, let's say, 7,000 individual with a score above 500, right? Each draw, it's increasing by 500. So right now, the next draw, tomorrow, we expect maybe 3,700, so 3,750 for tomorrow, all right? Which means that this is gonna go up, and which means that they're gonna take these people who are all above 500, right? Great. Now, in next week, tomorrow people are going to receive ITAs, and they're going to tell their friends and say, hey, I am going to Canada, or I'm applying for PR to Canada. Look how I did it. Look what is happening. Look how I got my PNP. There's also individuals right now who are waiting for PNP draws from provinces who already applied for PNPs, and right after the draw, so on Thursday, Friday next week, they're going to receive their PNP applications, and they're going to go ahead and they're going to update they're going to accept the invitation inside their Express Entry profile, and this number is going to increase, right? So this is why there's people who are going to make more applications, and who's going to keep the score elevated. We're going to continue to make applications. I don't know if we're able to see the data from previous rounds. If they have the data, yeah. So they don't show the pool for previous rounds, but essentially, right? This number. Do they show the data of everyone that was inside? Yeah. So they don't. So previously, like this number is always hovering about 6,000, 7,000 individuals, right? Because people are making new applications, right? So listen, it's possible. So 3 to 6 months to reach 500. Yeah, because look, it's gonna at least take a month to clear this. And within a month, more people are gonna apply, right? So within a month, we're gonna see more individuals with PNPs and individuals even without PNPs who are going to apply and submit applications, right? So listen, maybe I'm wrong. I hope it's not this long. Maybe I'm being too conservative here. But yeah, so you're saying 6 draws. If I keep inviting it, then a total of 6 draws will be 1,900. Yeah, it's, again, I wish that I could show you the stats of the previous draws on how it looked, Shintan. And listen, I hope that I'm wrong. This is just my informed guess, right? So here's the questions. But 6 draws, if they keep inviting just 3,200 people, also total 6 draws will be 19,000. Yeah, I mean, listen, I hope it doesn't take that long, but I do think that it could be within 3 months, 6 draws to clear the 500. And listen, maybe I'm wrong. I hope that I'm wrong, and maybe I'm being too cautious. But that's my 2 cents for now. So listen, I do have to. And Chetan, listen, you can check in with me in a few weeks. Hopefully, I'm wrong. We have other people chipping in saying. Rajan says, Shintan, I guarantee you it will clear 2 draws. In fact, a lot of the 490s will be cleared by end of October. Listen, guys, I really hope you guys are right. But do keep in mind that a lot of people are creating express entry applications now, whether it's PNP over the 600 or whether it's over the 500s. A lot of people are creating applications, right? But listen, I hope that I'm wrong. I hope that all you guys are right. I hope that we all get the ITAs sooner than expected. Shintan asking, my ELTS will expire in 4 draws. That's why I'm cautious. I'm a spouse applicant. Well, listen, I wouldn't bet on it. See, we're seeing, like, I think it's really going to slow down. I think we're going to stay at the 500s for the next 3 months, which is the next 6 draws. Listen, let's hope that I'm wrong. Keep in mind too, right, that it's better for me to be cautious than to get everyone excited about draws, next month that are going to drop down below 500, right? So this is why I'm trying to be as cautious. All right, final question. I do have to go to my call. Foreign physician targeted draws. Yeah, I mean, let's hope we don't know. We're gonna have more details in November when the minister is gonna be announcing these changes in express entry. They've also recently announced, and I'm gonna write a blog on it about changes for PR for physicians, about the PR status for physicians. It was announced last week. I'm in the middle of just finishing the final touches on it, but there is changes. So Rajan, go to our website, look for blogs. Probably the next 2 to 3 days, there's going to be blogs on foreign physicians. Listen, guys, I have to head out. Again, my name is Cedric Marin, Canadian immigration lawyer. Join us for the next Q&A. It's going to be 6:30 a.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays, Toronto time. Again, I'm teleworking, so I'm available to meet in the morning. Go onto our website, go speak to a lawyer. You can head down and you can take a look, book a consult, 25-minute or 15-minute consult. Thanks for your time, guys. I got to go. See you. Bye.